Sergei Pavlovich and Tom Aspinall will be fighting next weekend for the interim heavyweight belt. We are going to break down Sergei Pavlovich's last 3 fights and talk about why his striking is superior and what makes him so dangerous. Now, before I get into it, I do want to say Sergei's grappling is a little questionable, and I still think this will be the deciding factor for Sergei to win or not. If he can defend the takedown from Aspinall, he should win. But if he can't defend the takedown, he will most likely lose. Now, what makes Sergei Pavlovich so good? Is it his power, volume, precision, footwork, counter-striking? Yes. It's all of these things. Sergei uses the jab well, and that's how he sets everything up. That is the number one thing to focus on in this breakdown video. It's boxing 101. Use the jab to circle your opponent out, and then use the right hand or overhand to sit your opponent. If you notice in Sergei's last 3 fights, Sergei will constantly pump the jab, force his opponents to circle out to the right, and then he throws the right hand or an uppercut or an overhand, and that's how he catches his opponents. In the first fight, Sergei vs. Blades. This fight was a weird fight because Blades didn't attempt a takedown until he was getting rocked by Sergei, and by that point, it was a little too late. Sergei Pavlovich knocked out Curtis Blades at the 2-minute mark in the first round. Sergei is constantly ripping the left jab, which is forcing Blades to move to the right to get out of reach, and bang, that's when he gets hit with some hammers. If you notice, Blades is constantly in Sergei's face. He's constantly in front of him and he's square. Sergei is just constantly pumping that left jab, and it is forcing Blades to move to the right. And you notice Pavlovich lands a beautiful uppercut, right hook, and is just loading on Blades, and that's how he catches him. If we look at the Sergei and Tai fight, Pavlovich hits and lands a big overhand right at 25 seconds into the first round against Tai. Sergei then unleashes a flurry of punches that drops Tai Tuivasa. Tai Tuivasa gets up for a brief moment, but Sergei lands a beautiful left hook and right hook combinations that drop Tai Tuivasa again, and that's where he uses ground and pound to finish the fight. What did Sergei do to win this fight? He used his range well by constantly pumping the jab to keep you out of reach. Then he forces you to circle out to the right, causing his opponents to get dropped by that right hand. Now, if we go into the Derrick Lewis fight, the same thing is happening. Sergei uses the jab to back up Lewis and land a ton of right hooks and uppercuts, then ends up dropping Lewis and then uses ground and pound to finish him out. He uses the jab to keep Lewis on his back foot and then throws the right hooks to drop Lewis. Sergei does a really good job with pumping the jab even when he's on his own back foot. He uses the jab to keep you off of him, and then he throws the right hand or hook to force you to back up. Sergei has a ton of power, so even his jab is going to make you move out of the way. Sergei holds a lot of power and his speed is unreal. When Curtis, Tai, and Lewis got hit with the right hand, they immediately got back or tried to land a punch of their own, and then just got swarmed with more shots because Sergei is so fast and precise. He constantly lands on the chin or close to it. My biggest concern for Sergei, though, is his grappling. Pavlovich has a hard time in clinch moments, and once he's on his back, he has no movement towards reversals or sweeps. Pavlovich is very big, and it was incredibly hard for him to get up against Overeem. I feel like if Tom Aspinall is on top of you, especially someone who is a black belt, that's a wrap for Sergei. Tom Aspinall is legit on the ground. The question is, can he take Sergei to the ground? Because that is not easy to do. But once Sergei is on the ground, it should be fairly easy work for Tom Aspinall. Sergei got finished by Overeem in 2018, which is 5 years ago, so maybe Sergei's wrestling has gotten better. But what we have seen so far, his ground game isn't that good. So this could be a way of victory for Tom Aspinall. But the biggest thing for Pavlovich is his striking. His jab is fast, it keeps you out of reach, and his right hand is devastating. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. See you in the next video.